Ladies and gentlemen.
That'll grab something from the AV.
All right, man, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think I'll figure it out.
You can all take your seats. We're about ready to go. It's my pleasure to call to order the 123rd meeting of the Massachusetts Gaming Commission on June 10th, 10 o'clock at the Mass Mutual Center in Springfield, Massachusetts. I want to make a few introductory remarks before we get started, and I think some of the other commissioners may also have some remarks. This is one of the penultimate weeks of the process that we've been involved in. We set out at the beginning, almost from the very first month, to commit ourselves to a process of licensing expanded gaming facilities in Massachusetts in a manner that would be perceived by the public as having been participatory, transparent, and fair. To that end, we've held 123 public meetings. That comes to something like 750 hours of public meetings streamed live on the web and available to the public both live and in our archives. That comes to almost more than 4 months of public meetings in the last 2.5 years. 4 months of public meetings in the last 2.5 years. We've held many other public meetings and made presentations to groups in all parts of the Commonwealth. We've had 8, I believe, educational forums. We've had dozens, probably by now hundreds of media appearances. We've received thousands of letters and emails from concerned citizens, all of which have been parsed and read by all of us. The culmination of all this process for Western Mass has been a Category 1 application process that began with 5 applicants and has now been winnowed down to 1. Mayor Sarno and the City of Springfield did an impressive job in holding their own competitive process, finally selecting MGM as its finalist. Other communities like Holyoke, West Springfield, and Palmer exercised their right to deny applicants access to their communities. So now there is one. The final MGM application was broken into 5 different categories of evaluation: finance, mitigation, site and building design, economic development, and a general overview section. Each of the 5 commissioners has taken on one of those 5 evaluation categories. Each of the commissioners put together teams of consultants and advisors to work with them over fully 6 months to evaluate the thousands of pages of the application and ultimately to rate the application. We knew when we started this process that there would be winners and losers, not just among gaming companies, but also among communities. Some pro-gambling, some anti. Some will win because there is a license awarded nearby. Some will win because there's not a license awarded nearby. But overall, I would like to comment, and I'm pretty sure I can speak for the other commissioners, that this has been a remarkable opportunity for us to meet with quality people from across the Commonwealth. The applicants and their multitudes of lawyers, the host and surrounding communities and their public officials, and a vast number of interested citizens, each and every one doing their job as they saw fit in the advance of making the best of this important law. Commissioner Stebbins makes a point often when he speaks about how uniquely we treat this industry. If any other industry came to Massachusetts, such as the Western Massachusetts applicant, and said, we want to invest a minimum of $500 million, we want to create something like 2,500 permanent jobs, and we want to create associated economic development throughout the region, we would be on our hands and knees, passing out tax breaks and applauding. This industry we put through an incredibly rigorous process of poking and prodding, background checking, skepticism, and referenda, all appropriately so, given the nature of the business. But it does remind us how differently we treat this industry than we treat any other industry that we deal with. It's the right way to do it because of the nature of the industry and its history and so forth. But I do think it's important to appreciate just how different that is, as Commissioner Stebbins points out so often. One other piece of background. The commissioners are aware that there's been discussion by MGM Springfield that they may be reluctant to give the Commonwealth an $85 million non-refundable deposit, with the possibility of a repeal of the expanded gaming law on the horizon. That discussion definitely puts the cart before the horse. The issue before us today is whether to award the Category 1 license in Western Mass to MGM Springfield, and if so, with what conditions attached. The Commission has never discussed what we will do if a company refuses to accept a license award. If that happens, we will deal with it at the time. We'll talk more about the process in a few minutes, but I just want to say that from the Commission's standpoint, as we go through this evaluation process between now and hopefully the end of the day on Friday, we will try to reach a unanimous consensus on whether we can make a license award, and if so, with what conditions. But we may not be unanimous, and a split vote in no way alters the dispositiveness, nor the importance, nor the clarity of the decision. If we have different opinions, then majority vote will determine the outcome. We've said from the outcome that we are committed to a participatory, transparent, and fair process. And I, for one, hope very much that by the end of this week, that the participants in the bidding process, the communities involved, and the people of Massachusetts will believe that we have met that standard. So let us begin. Any other commissioners have words before we begin?
Yeah, I don't have prepared remarks, but something that you alluded to, Mr. Chairman. A big thank you to all of the people that work for us in our staff, our consultants, the people who help us review these applications that are really lengthy, nuanced, complex, intricate. So that's it's been a long process, but by leveraging all the skills and knowledge that we have at our disposal, it's great that it's coming to conclusion. And similarly, in order to review a big, complex application, it takes a lot of skill and time to prepare the application, and that also goes with. I also want to express thanks to the applicant, the last one remaining, I guess, but the one that endured during these last 2 years, which was a very competitive process up until now. So thank you for that effort. It costs a lot of money. We recognize it. It costs a lot of time and skills. And the Commission and the Commonwealth is better off by those efforts. Thank you.
I'd just like to say briefly, touch on one thing that you also touched on, Mr. Chairman, and that is the number of public meetings that we've held, but more importantly, the public input that we've gotten. For me, one of the most valuable parts of this process is that public input. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend one of the meetings we held here in Springfield, but I've watched the video of that, and I participated in the others. There are some who passionately support the idea of a casino. There are some who passionately oppose that idea. There are some who passionately oppose us. But everybody is energized around this issue, and regardless of the side that they ultimately take, the best of them, the best of the comments, be they pro-casino or con, have left me, and I think I can speak for the other commissioners, with new ideas and new ways of thinking about certain issues. And thus, regardless of whether we come out the same way the proponent of the ideas comes out, they have helped shape our thinking about how to proceed forward. I think that's an invaluable part of this process. The legislature set it up so that there would be that kind of public input. I know we all take it very seriously and are the beneficiaries of the energy and passion and thoughtfulness that goes into the best of the comments we hear. So I want to thank all of the members of the public who took the time either to write to us or to attend the public meeting or in some other way to communicate their views to us, regardless of what those views were.
I think just about everything has been said. I just want to thank everybody as well. Interesting process. A lot of work went into this, as I think you'll see today. I feel like we're very well prepared, but I want to thank all of our staff and consultants as well as the applicant and all of the other folks who participated in the process. It was good to hear from everybody, and we really did use all of that to form our opinions and make our evaluations. So thank you.
I also want to thank our staff, our consultants. When I walked into our Boston office a little over 2 years ago, there were 5 commissioners and 3 staff. So fortunately, happily, the tables kind of turned, and we brought in a lot of great people to help us with this process. This has been an exciting few months. We're considering and weighing a license application here in Western Mass. We've already issued a license for our one slots parlor, and shovels are in the ground and people are starting to erect steel. That's pretty exciting. That's what this legislation was all about, was about jobs and recovering revenue that we knew went outside the state. And it was only 2 years ago that all 5 of us are sworn in. To think of where we've come, what the process that really was driven heavily by a lot of local involvement, voter participation, giving communities a choice as to really whether they wanted to have a casino developed in their community. The statute has worked just the way we thought it would. But I appreciate the work of my colleagues. I appreciate all of our staff. I am somewhat thankful this morning for the shorter commute out of the 5 of us. But I'm looking forward to the deliberations over the next 2 days.
Thank you all. Let me describe the process a little bit, what we're going to go through this morning. There, as I said earlier, there are the 5 categories of the evaluation project. Each commissioner will present the category that they have been responsible for with their advisors and consultants. As they speak and as they finish speaking, there'll be an opportunity for Q&A by other commissioners with the commissioner who's presenting. This morning, we will start with site and building design with Commissioner McHugh, and during the rest of the day, we will deal with finance with Commissioner Zuniga and mitigation with Commissioner Cameron. That may take up the better part of the day. We expect, this is a little bit fluid, but we expect to start on Wednesday morning with having the applicant have an opportunity to point out anything that they think are factual incorrections. This is not an opportunity to alter the proposal or to debate the points, but if the applicant feels in good faith that any of the speakers have mischaracterized factual matters, the applicant will have an opportunity to correct the record. We will then have the economic development presentation from Commissioner Stebbins and the overview presentation by myself. And again, after that, the applicant will have an opportunity to correct the record if they think there are any factual errors. Throughout these discussions, we will be noting where, if anywhere, we think there are conditions that should be applied to the license within any of each of our 5 categories, and staff will be helping us keep track of potential conditions. At the end of those 5 presentations, which we think will be sometime around noon tomorrow, we will then start the deliberation process amongst the 5 of us. We will probably start out just kind of giving a general indication of our frame of mind, sort of predispositions, where we will not be taking a straw poll, but we will be just getting a sense of where we stand on both the issue of the award, but also on the issue of significant conditions. We will then continue to discuss it, and we hope that we will be able to come to an initial award go, no-go decision by the end of the day tomorrow. And from that point on, we will sort of play the schedule by ear. As you know, Thursday we will return to Boston for our regular meeting. There's time set aside to have carryover of this meeting if need be. We expect to be out here Friday morning at 10 o'clock for what we hope will be a final announcement, but we have plenty of time for carryover discussion scheduled for Friday. We even have time reserved in our publicly posted meeting notes for time on Monday if we should need that as well, but hopefully that won't be necessary. Anything else process-wise anyone wants to say? Then General Counsel Blue, do you want to just lay out any legal parameters that we need to pay attention to?
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Since no process would be complete without a statement from the legal department, I am here this morning to deliver just a brief overview of some legal things to keep in mind. You have before you a document called a checklist for the issuance of a Category 1 gaming license. It is in essence the same checklist you used for the Category 2 license, revised for Category 1 purposes. The legal department put this together for you to use as a means to determine the findings that need to be made pursuant to Chapter 23K and the regulations. You will note that it has findings set up by section, and the goal is that by the time we are through the process, we will have made all of the required findings. I'd like to call your attention to the first page, which talks about the general requirements. The Commission may issue one Category 1 license in each region. Today, we are considering the grant of a license in Region B. If the Commission is not convinced that an applicant has met the eligibility criteria and provided convincing evidence, no Category 1 license shall be awarded. The Commission has full discretion as to whether or not to issue a license. Applicants have no legal right or privilege to a license. The period of the license is 15 years and begins when the Commission approves the opening of the gaming establishment for operation. The Commission's proceedings, which began with the submission of the RFA2 application, are administrative and legislative in nature. They are not adjudicatory. The applicant has been required to present all of the information required by the Commission. The RFA2 administrative proceedings have involved public hearings. They have not been adversarial in nature. They have involved no specific charges, legal rights, or privileges. They have provided no opportunity for cross-examination of witnesses under oath. They've afforded the opportunity for public comment, including unsworn statements and letters of support, opposition, or concern by persons advocating for or against the application. This proceeding will involve a final decision to grant or deny a gaming license, and that rests at all time within the discretion of the Commission. The Commission will ultimately grant or deny the application before it. In determining whether an applicant receives a gaming license, the Commission will evaluate and issue a statement of findings as to how the applicant proposes to advance the objectives in Chapter 23K. The form of the license will be a decisional form similar to that used for the issuance of the Category 2 license. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then I believe we are ready to start, and I think we will go
What are we
ahead.
going to do with Karen?
Karen.
Oh, sorry.